This conference will now be recorded.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the City of Haslet HCEDC Type B meeting on Wednesday, June 4th at 6 p.m. We do have a quorum present. Item number 2, citizens' participation and comments. Do we have anyone in the chamber who would like to speak?
Yes, we do. Our first lady is Miss Sandra Smith.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Smith, could you please state your name and your address?
On the corner of 2nd Gamble, and I'm here tonight just to talk about the sale. Y'all have already made some sales of your properties, and I guess there's 1 or 2 out there in the future. But I wanted to talk just a little bit. I think I've told you guys I'm a data person. I like to dig around in data. And I think you guys need to know this, especially with the board that you are. There's 7 churches in Haslet proper within 2 miles of each other. Some have been here most of my life, some of them are new. But of those 7 churches, their Tarrant Appraisal District value, which they are valued on TAD, even though they are tax exempt, is well over $20 million. So that's $20 million that are not on the tax roll collecting taxes like the rest of us pay. And I'm a Christian, I'm a believer, and I was baptized in the Haslet Baptist Church right up the road. I'm the youngest of 5 siblings. Most of my siblings were married there. We had funerals there, so I've been invested in the churches here in Haslet most of my life. So that's just a fact that I think, I felt like you guys needed to know, because we're taxpayers, we live here, and we shouldn't be negatively impacted by any entity, tax exempt or not. Now, I'll keep my comments brief. The 120 Main sale that y'all did probably was the most impactful to me, because for at least a decade, I've been comped to that house for purposes of value and taxes. So I just wanted to express my disappointment in what that house was sold for, given that it's a direct comp to mine. And I understand that house might have been in, bad disrepair, but the reality of it is, Tarrant Appraisal District said it was worth $303,000. And I think y'all sold it for significantly less. And that house had a very questionable history with the market value of what it was being rented for while it was owned by Haslet, and just the history of it. And it was a detriment and a negative to me personally. And I felt like it only fair, so I don't hold a grudge over it. Because I met with 2 mayors, a couple of economic development directors, and I came before this board before all of y'all were here. And I expressed my disappointment and discouragement that house was being let go like it was, and it was still comped to me. So, that being said, I'll leave it alone. I have 2 questions I want to leave with you tonight, and I know y'all can't answer them, but eventually I would like to have an answer. 1, who paid Mr. Slinker to do the rendering? He did. I saw it be talked about on the meeting, and I know it was y'all's meeting, but I know there was some question about the rendering and the church property, and I know there's been some controversy over it. And I don't have any skin in the game. Even though I can see it, it's not adjoining my property at all. But whenever I sit on my back porch, I watch the parishioners come and go. I see all the activity over there. I introduce myself to at least 1 couple here tonight. I've never met any of them. Even though I was raised up in that church, I've never met any of them. So Who paid for it? One. And that property on all the county records is still titled in Haslet Baptist Church. Now, I think there's a couple of churches operating out of it. That's not my business. But I'm a big person into data and records. So if that church eventually buys that property, how's it going to be titled? Is it going to be titled Haslet Baptist Church like the rest of the property is, or is it going to be in some other name? Now, as a taxpayer who pays taxes here, those are my questions, and I think I have a right to an answer. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Do we have anyone else that would like to speak?
Yes. Our next speaker is Mr. Stuart Shirley. Shirey. Shirey. Apologies.
And I just want to make a comment. I should have made this a little bit earlier. We're going to limit the speakers to a 10-minute limit for briefity. So if you could be concise, that would be a real pleasure because we don't.
I appreciate that. I got it.
Very good. And your name again, sir?
Shirey.
And your address?
1417 Poppy Drive in the Meadow. I too am adjacent to a church, the Holy Shepherd Lutheran Church. And I hear the bells, and I hear the volleyball occasionally on Friday night. So I share that commonality with this project. I'd like to speak in favor of the project. I'm a 7-year member of the church, and for the last 8 years, I've served on the Haslet Economic Development Board. The last 7 of those has been its president. It's truly an honor. Kitty can appreciate that. And I got to tell you, you have people come to your meeting. Our meetings are at 12 o'clock. We never have anybody. So your topics must be a lot better than ours are. I can promise you that. I support it on a couple of grounds. First and foremost, it is the core mission of what our economic development boards are about, which is the creation of primary jobs and the retainage of primary jobs. And you know what? About 12 to 18 months ago, there were 15 jobs that were in Fort Worth. And because of the church bringing in a vibrant school into Haslet, those 15 jobs are here in Haslet. And I appreciate that there's some impact to the tax values, but the value of a small business job and the multiplier of that trickle down is really what we are about as economic development entities. And you know, with all the road building, guys, we're there with you, with the road building and the park improvements and the jogging trails and the land buys, we shouldn't really forget what that core mission is, which is job creation. I'll also tell you, I can certainly appreciate, and I'll be brief, 2-3 minutes, I appreciate when we create jobs in adjacency to homeowners, we need to be sensitive. We do. We need their input. I own a business in South Lake, and I have dealt with residential adjacency ordinances on multiple occasions. And they are a pain, and South Lake is probably the most restrictive in the area. In fact, some builders avoid South Lake. They have a reputation for this being extra tough. And in each instance, I took input from, in some cases, 3 neighbors that were within proximity of the jurisdiction of the residential adjacency requirements. When I bought my property, they didn't exist. I was before Town Square. But after Town Square, residential adjacency became a big topic. And so I had to comply with some new things in South Lake that did not exist when we bought our property. I was the guinea pig in South Lake, in Myron Drive, right across from Town Square behind the hospital. And I met with 3 homeowners, and I took input from each. I had to modify my parking so as to preserve a tree, so a neighbor who sat on their back porch drinking wine with their wife wouldn't see the blinking light on the top of the water tower behind the hospital. I made sure that our parking lot was graded in such a way as it didn't change the drainage to the neighbor. I get that. If you've got yards, it soaks in. If you put concrete there, it runs. Makes sense. They added cost to our project. I created a shrubbery buffer so as to create separation of sight and sound. I wish I would have been there when the church built. I would have asked for the same thing, but I was the second owner of that property. So I didn't, but I've done shrubbery. But in none of those instances are the residential adjacency ordinance designed to stop a project that is core mission to what we do. I mean, I'll assure you the proposition that created both of our entities has at its core job creation and primary job retention. I believe it's our contract to the voters that approved it. Now, we certainly need to be sensitive to the homeowners, and where we can make accommodations, we do so. That's required where you have residential adjacency ordinance. I still think it's the right thing to do in Haslet where we don't have that because of the sensitivity of the need. So I think that's a great idea. Last thing, Texas state law gives EDCs an amazing toolbox, both A, under the tax code 504, and B, under 505, to perform our duties of job creation, among other things. We can make loans, we can do gifts, we can do donations, we have abatements, we have a lot of things we can do to promote job creation. But each of those come with a cost. This project has the use of none of those, or the cost of any of those, for the value per job. What's required is the sale of a 3rd-acre lot that has been determined to be surplus to an adjacent property owner that is willing to listen to the owners and address the needs that they can at a market price. Cost per job, that's a great deal. And as your counterpart on A, I could do nothing but support that, and I hope this board can find a path to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do we have anyone else that would like to speak?
Yes, our final is Miss Christina Reynolds.
Hello, Ms. Reynolds. Can you please state your name and your address?
Christina Reynolds, 204 Main Street.
And could you please speak up, or can you check her speaker at the podium to make sure it's working well?
I don't really have anything different to say than last time. I got the rendering, and I appreciated all the work that was put in. I appreciated what you're trying to preserve. I still am not a fan of having a driveway, parking lot, almost kind of a road that runs through there. Just because, and I don't know if it's selfish or not, but I think it'll bring property value, my property value down, I think, especially because it's right next door. The renderings were great. I fear, though, that the big mature trees that are there that are hardly anywhere to be seen anymore are going to be cut down. The huge tree that's at the very big front of the lot, it's beautiful. It's not in the rendering. Just things like that. So I'm opposed just because I don't want a parking lot next to my house. But I still think that if it goes forward, that there's still some adjustments that need to be made in that rendering, and to preserve some of the beauty, because I think if you want people to move in to Haslet, they're not going to move in because there's a great parking lot. They're going to move in because there's a great green space and great trees and things like nature. That's what I see when I go to other communities. I'm like, oh, it's so beautiful. You're not going to drive through and go, oh, there's a huge church on the corner. That's why, I'm not opposed. I appreciate the church, and they have been great neighbors, and I'm excited to see them grow. I'm excited to see, their classroom and the big building they're going to build. But I just think that also, as a neighbor, it does make it harder for me, and I've been so stressed out about this situation because I don't like feeling angst or anger or anything like that, thinking my little house is in jeopardy, or that my privacy or my, so that's just my 2 cents. I'm for jobs, and I'm for the church, and I'm for being a good neighbor. I just think that if it does go forward, I think there still needs to be tweaking, just because it's in my yard, and that's all I have to say. I don't want to be, I hope it's not rude at all, but that's all.
Thank you, Ms. Reynolds. Thank you. Do we have any other speakers signed up to speak? Did you fill out a speaker's card? Pardon me? You want to go to the back of the room and fill out a card? In the meantime, do we have any others? Do we have any online? Okay, while we're waiting for this gentleman to fill out a card, I did want to let everyone know that the city did receive 12 responses from other church members, all for this particular subject. None of them asked to have the letters read in public, so I just wanted everybody to know. So we'll give this gentleman just a moment.
Chairman, are they actually citizens in Haslet?
Most of them did not give their addresses, so I believe I count here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 did not give addresses, so we don't know where they live. But thank you for that question. Okay, sir, could you please state your name and your address?
My name is Joel Bullard. I live at 108 Hurley Street.
Okay.
First, can you pull up the rendering that I saw online that was posted?
It's in the report.
I wonder if this is premature.
Right. Could you just please state comments?
Well, I want to see the drawing so I can speak to the drawing.
You didn't come prepared.
Well, you got it right here.
Right, but we have an agenda item later on.
Exactly.
Okay, that's fine. But I want everybody to see so they'll know what I'm talking about while I'm talking about it.
We'll be showing that at a later time.
Okay. So where I live at 108 is on the corner of Hurley and First. Okay. In the drawing, there is I guess a proposed 2-story building that's on that drawing. There's also a driveway that cuts right in front of my house and in front of my driveway. I heard the gentleman speak about drainage and runoff. The city has already created a flooding problem, a drainage problem on my property by the tin horns that they put under John Day Road. That now all that rain that comes off them pastures back there comes across us. More concrete, more driveways is just gonna make that worse, coming across my property. The traffic coming across through there, don't want it, don't wanna see it. We can create all the jobs and all the, whatever he was speaking about earlier, that's fine. I don't want a driveway there. The driveway can come off of Main Street. Now, I understand this lady here lives right next to where that driveway is gonna be. Looking at the drawing, the fence looks like it's touching her house. I don't know who sitting in this room would want that. It doesn't make sense to me. None of this was brought to the residents. None of this was proposed to us. None of this was told to us. We just happened to see it online. So, to be a good neighbor, somebody should have come and talked to us and told us this was happening or this was being proposed. And it wasn't. So I'm fully and totally and 100% against anything going in over there right now. Until we can talk about it and figure out a way to make this work for everybody, I don't want this to happen at all. So I appreciate y'all's time.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have any others that would like to speak?
Yes. Shay Romero? Yes. Okay.
Hello, can you please state your name and your address?
Yes, ma'am. Shay Romero. I'm 104 First Street. I have my house actually, y'all are talking about the back of my property, and then they own the side of my property. So basically the driveway would go around my house where there's all trees and land and nature right now. I think some of the things I didn't know about this. I did ask Pastor to speak with him several months ago when I think there was a first discussion, so I had contacted him and asked to speak and kind of got a little information. Some of it is, again, not the property. There's going to be a big, we're going to get a driveway right beside my house where there was cows and things. But, and again, I think the church is great. I think it's wonderful. I do have concern about traffic and stuff coming through there. And again, I love the trees and the nature. So again, like with the rendering and stuff like that, as much nature as that can be kept and preserved would be amazing. And then I do work from home. So like sometimes even with the kids on the playground, like I've had people say, is there a kid dying? Because they're, just playing and being kids out there. So whatever privacy fencing that y'all do, just like for soundproofing and stuff, would obviously be helpful as well. But my main concern is again, like he said, the traffic. It's going to be a loop literally around my house, and we already have so much issues with First Street, and I was hit a month ago. I was almost hit again last week because nobody stops at the stop sign, and now we're going to have a whole bunch more people coming through. So just my thoughts is, so thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for your comments. Do we have any others that would like to speak? Okay, then we will move along in the agenda. We'll move to item number 3, items of community interest. 3.1, the Summer Reading Club begins Monday, June 2nd, 2025 at the Haslet Public Library and will continue until Thursday, July 31st, 2025. 3.2, sponsor a flag to be placed at the Memorial Garden for Independence Day, July 4th. Link for more information is at sponsor a flag link on the website. 3.3, the Independence Celebration will be held Friday, June 27th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at the community park. Okay, moving along to item number 4, consent agenda. Board, before us, we have the April 23rd, 2025 regular meeting minutes, and we have the April 2025 financial report. Does the board have any questions on those 2 documents?
No questions.
Okay, then I would ask for a motion.
I motion we accept the consent agenda, April 23rd, 2025 regular meeting minutes, and the April 2025 financial report.
Do I have a second? Okay, I have a motion and a second. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Okay, moving along to item number 5, reports and presentations. 5.1, the Economic Development Report. Mr. Swanky.
Yeah, Ms. Hurley and, Ms. Wirtz and members of the board, just a couple of things I want to mention. There are several items, one on along 35, and we keep receiving comments and inquiries along for properties there. And that's just a continual item. And then also we've had some industrial / restaurants / office type facilities, industrial, over the rest of the city. And so those things, we keep talking with people about different projects. And so the city of Haslet is very active right now, and there's lots of interest in the city.
Mr. Schwenke, I have a question about that front I-35 frontage. I don't know if it's related, but I noticed that along Harmon, they're cutting the brush and the trees and the fences are coming down. Can you speak to that at all?
Is this south of the Blue Mound?
This is north. This is perpendicular to Blue Mound.
Okay, there's a 100-acre tract that's just adjacent to Harmon Road that is outside our jurisdiction, outside our ETJ. They withdrew from our ETJ about a year ago, and so we actually have no control on what they do if that's the tract that it's being worked on.
Okay. How many acres?
100. Basically south of the school property, not the school property, but the hotel.
Correct.
Clear down to the property that's owned by the Freeman Toyota.
Okay.
All that 100 acres is outside our extraterritorial jurisdiction.
So Fort Worth then?
No.
No.
County.
County. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Schwenke?
Yes.
Excuse me, I have a couple of questions. I'd like to ask for a little more detail on the inquiries for properties along I-35. Can you tell us, are there any serious talks? Are you just getting a phone call that's asking
No,
the price?
there are serious talks.
Okay. Can you describe what type of businesses?
I cannot at this point.
Okay. So you've gone more than just talks?
Absolutely.
Okay. And then, of course, down in miscellaneous, where you said numerous conversations are occurring, can you describe that?
They're all over the place. A lot of them are along 156, along that corridor. And no, I cannot give you any more details. You know, there's a lot of people when they come and talk to us, we have some anonymity that we have to keep with them. And if we don't, then prices get out of hand, and they've asked us not to talk about it, and we oblige them to do that.
What sections of 156?
All the way from Keller Haslet on the north end, all the way down to, I'm going to say Odessa.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Swanky, back on the city council meeting of May 5th, you listed out quite a number of businesses and gave a little bit more detail. Is there any comments you'd like to make about that particular list?
There were no specific comments related to specific addresses, but they were all general comments about different businesses that we've seen.
Can you give us a timeline when the Freeman Toyota dealership will come into Haslet?
It's already come into Haslet as an annexation. They've already been annexed into the city. And we'll be bringing forth to the Planning and Zoning Commission a public hearing for zoning on that in the near future. In fact, at the end of June at the Planning and Zoning Commission, it'll be out there with a site plan and also a plan development.
Okay, I've also noticed clearing of underbrush and trees to the west side of the last warehouse on Westport, way down in the valley area. Can you allude to us what that activity is?
Yeah, there's a sewer line that's being put through there. It's a city sewer line.
Okay, so that is the city's activity.
Yes.
Okay. All right, and also as my last question, this board is charged with economic activities. Is there anything this board can do to assist you or any other activity in this city?
Not at this time.
Okay. All right, any other questions for Mr. Swanky? Thank you. Okay, if we could pull up the lease report. And I will speak to this. Our leasee at the Mai Tai restaurant paid for the month of May, and they have covered the lease payment of $700 for lease to June 15th, and that will be their last day there. So I wanted to make people aware of that. So all the lease payment from them is up to date. Okay, I'd like to move along to where am I at? Okay, item 5.3. Wow. Someone have their speakerphone online? If you could please mute your phone. We're getting some feedback here. Okay, I'd like to move to 5.3, Northgate Church Development and Landscape Concept Plan for the 210 Main Street property. Mr. Swanky, would you like to lead that discussion?
Yes, Ms. Wirtz and members of the board. At our last regular scheduled meeting, this board directed me to...
Excuse me, could you pull up that concept plan? Oh, okay.
This
Yes.
board directed me to take a look at the property and get with Mr. Slinker, the pastor of Northgate Church, and also with Christina Reynolds, who spoke earlier tonight, to listen to their concerns and also to come up with a concept plan that addresses a lot of items. And one of the things that I did in here, and one of the things I couldn't do is did not have a tree survey. If there are major trees that are in here, I would hope that we could try to preserve those, in any kind of, detailed, final, concept plan that we develop. But having said that, I located at Miss Reynolds' request her house on here, so I put the house on there and where it's located on the lot, and also the other lots in the proximity of Main Street and First Street. I also put the driveway for this property. It's not even, the driveway itself does not even start on the property that the HCEDC owns. It's west of that, and just almost where the existing driveway comes into the church, just a little bit in between those two areas. And so it's almost as far west as it could be, and in fact, it's off this property, and then it only swings on until about midway down the property where it takes in a little bit, and some parking was added. But when you look at the details of it, a 6-foot masonry screening wall has been added between the property lines, and that's not necessarily a requirement of this concept plan, but it's a city requirement between uses that are commercial type in nature and also residential properties. So it's showing there. As far as the two-story school building, that was something that the church wanted to see, and it's allowed now by right. And so, they could come back with a concept plan showing that building, and it would be within their right to do so. I'm showing one driveway coming off the First Street, and that goes by that, which was spoke about earlier, and that is facing on property that the church already owns. So they already own that neck that goes out to First Street, where it sort of dies into Hurley. And what I did here is I put some parking spaces on this track that they're looking at getting from the HCEDC, but most of the driveway until you get to the very end of the property is to the west of the single-family residential properties. I'm showing a lot of landscaping in the area, and that's just generic. It was asked by Miss Reynolds that we not use crepe myrtles in this area. She currently has a couple of crepe myrtles now that evidently attract bugs, and they get her windows dirty. And so I said, well, that's easy enough to accomplish. But in the front there's a butterfly garden that we're showing, which will really, I think, could dress up and make this really an aesthetically pleasing site. I know in our meeting that we had here, it was talked about maybe using this area as a park. Well, if you do the park, all the parking is going to be in front, adjacent to her house, in the front of her house, and that's where all the traffic would be, and there would be a driveway right on that property if it was a park. This way, it's moved to the west, and the driveway and the parking is put quite a ways away from her property. In fact, the back of her property only touches a few parking spaces where it is still, 50 foot away from her property line. Now, I've added some more things just to help out facilitate this site from a fire standpoint. Looping the site with a fire lane, which meets the city requirements, and our Mr. Harvey, our fire marshal, has actually looked at that arrangement, and he agrees with the location. It would be good with 30-foot inside radiuses and 26-foot, which is the city minimum size for fire lanes, and then also putting the exit lane from this as far to the west as I could on the property. One thing that could be done, and of course this would be up to the school, is instead of having, and also the fire marshal, could be that 26-foot fire lane could be a one-way in and an exit, on the other ones. So that would not be an option to help quell the traffic in that area, but it's not a requirement that the city would put on it. It would be something that perhaps the owner might want to do himself. Having said that, that's basically the presentation. Like I say, this board directed me to put together a site plan and get with Ms. Reynolds and also the pastor of the church, Mr. Slinker, who is in the audience tonight.
Mr. Swanky, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Regarding the screen wall, is that a windscreen like around the tennis court?
No.
Okay, can you describe that?
Yeah, it's 6-foot masonry wall.
Oh, I thought you said masonry screen.
Yeah, it's screen.
Okay.
Masonry screen wall.
Oh, I see. A masonry wall? Okay.
Okay, I have a few questions, Mr. Swanky. First of all, the orientation of this drawing is off. You have north, south, east, west, off.
That's correct.
For a reason?
Yes. When you have a piece of paper, it's best fitting on it if you can square it up as much as possible. That's why there is a north arrow on there pointing where north is. That's a common practice in drafting and preparing plans.
That isn't north, though. That's what I'm trying to say. You have the actual directional chart cockeyed to what it actually should be. North should be where west is. And
That's easy to fix.
yes, just calling that out. But I also have other questions. Is this drawn to scale?
Yes.
It looks like the 26-foot driveway entering into the property the church currently owns is way larger than our lot in comparison because our lot's 62 feet wide.
Everything's drawn to scale. In fact, I was provided a survey from the church, which is what I started as the base, and then I added the church or the HCEDC property onto that.
Well, it certainly, if you were to take the length of the 26 foot and put that into our existing lot, I don't see it fitting in 3 times.
3 times would be like 80 some odd feet.
Excuse me, okay. So it is to scale.
Yes.
Okay, another question I have. Does anyone else want to jump in with any of your
Is
questions
the
first?
two-story school existing or future?
Future.
I'm still hearing some feedback. No? I'm here. Okay. Future, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Another question I have. Obviously, you have the 5 parking spaces and the 9 parking spaces facing toward the adjoining property. Can those be reoriented facing in toward the church so that there are no lights whatsoever? And how did you make sure you handled the light mitigation issues for this whole concept?
Whenever this is finally site planned, a photometric plan will have to be submitted to the Planning and Zoning Commission as part of this. And so at that point, all the lights on the perimeter will have to be downlighted and oriented away from this property, from the residential. That's city standard to do that. At this level, you don't do a photometric plan.
Okay, what about the direction of the parking spaces?
Well, if you want to put the driveway in the middle of the lot of the HCEDC property, and then face them that way, then you could do that. But with a 6-foot masonry screen wall, there won't be any lights going on to the property adjacent to it.
Wouldn't there still be considerable noise from the cars, even with the wall?
Probably no more than what's on Main Street.
Seems
In
pretty
fact,
loud out there at times.
Oh, it does here because we got trucks and everything else going by. But here, hopefully, the traffic will not be moving very fast going through the church parking lot.
What I'd also like to make a comment. You mentioned that if this property was developed for any other use other than selling it to the church, that all the parking would be up front. I think that's an incorrect statement. I'm sure there's a design that we could develop that could bring a long road back to the back of the property where a parking lot.
I think you would be incorrect on that because if you want to put the parking in the back, you have to have a drawway from Main Street all the way to the back.
Correct.
So there would be, if you want to put parking in the back, a driveway would have to go through that, and we're not going to let the parking or the driveway be immediately adjacent. It would go through the middle of that tract and virtually render the whole tract useless.
Why would it have to go through the middle?
Why would it have to go through the middle? It's a driveway.
It's a driveway, but you don't usually, you have a buffer on the side where you have a setback, a landscape setback. So you start with a landscape setback, and then you go with a 26-foot drive aisle for fire protection purposes. And then that doesn't leave you much land on the other side.
Speaking of
Well-
setbacks, I have a question about what the setback needs to be between the church and residential.
It's not between the church and the residential, it's between the church and the property line and their single-family residence and the property line.
I'm not understanding.
Your separation between the two are not from the church building to the single-family house. It all relates to the property line.
Okay, so the property line would be right there at the residential property line.
Yeah, that's where the ownership is.
Okay, but I thought there had to be a setback of 10 or 20 feet.
There is a setback in this district of 10 feet.
Okay, so that's what I'm asking. There should be a setback of 10 feet.
There is.
Anyone else not understanding this?
You want to show us, Mr. Swanky, on the concept plan?
Yeah, can I get a dongle from you? And that way I can put it on there and draw on it. Thank you. Yeah, this is for reference. This has the aerial and also some of the things on there that which we started from. See if I can get back to that. This I'm just putting in it just so you'll know the distances right there from the edge of this red line, which is the property line, clear over to this line right here. It's 53 point some odd feet. That's the width of the HCEDC lot.
It's supposed to be 62, according to the TAD record.
But don't go by the TAD record.
Okay.
Okay. This is from the survey, actual survey of the property.
It looks like it's narrower at the street and it gets wider toward the back.
It does. It does. It gets wider as you go back towards the back. Basically from here over to the property line, it gets to be a little over 60, almost 61 feet at the back. So it's not a perfectly rectangle. It's narrow at the front, and it sort of wedges back to the back.
Is the masonry wall, is that supposed to be, the 10-foot setback, would that be from Mrs. Reynolds' property line?
It would be
before
from the
wall?
property line.
It would be on the property line? Okay.
Yeah, normally you set those off 1 foot just from a graphic standpoint, so you can see the difference. That if it was right on the property line, you couldn't see the fence. But when it's constructed, and this is a problem we have throughout every city in Texas, is a lot of people don't want their fences destroyed when you build a new masonry fence. And so it's set off 1 foot. But I like to go in and talk to the property owners and say, can we remove your fence and put a masonry fence there? And the reason why, if you don't, a lot of times you'll have a 6-foot wood fence, then you have a little gap, and all you get there is Johnson grass. And so it's best if the fence is removed on the single-family house lot and a new masonry fence put right on top. But from a graphic standpoint, it shows off a little bit just so you can see it. And then like from the gazebo area, from there over there, it's actually approximately 11 to 12 feet off the property line, and 10 foot's required.
So it would pretty much just be right there with the masonry fence, pretty close, okay. 10 feet.
11 to 12 feet, whenever you get to the construction of it. And usually a gazebo will have a little bit of an overhang from the actual foundation. Is there any other questions about the site plan or any other dimensions you want to see?
Who maintains this wall?
The
Who
wall?
maintains the wall?
The church.
Okay.
In any type of commercial activity area, whether it's a 7-Eleven or it's a church, whoever constructs that wall from the commercial standpoint, and the church is commercial construction, then they're required to maintain that fence. So if something ever happens to the fence, it is the church's responsibility. Never the single-family homeowner. One other thing that Ms. Reynolds asked that we do is not have the fence up here in front of her house, so that as she sits on her porch, she doesn't have to look at the fence. And so it's been pulled back a little bit just to accommodate.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Slinky?
What would you anticipate the size of the butterfly garden to be?
Well, we will tell you exactly what it is. Let's go. It is 954.5686 square feet. A little bit less than 1,000.
Let's see, you have the cars somewhat angled, and they are, of course, at this time facing the property. I believe what a car length when you're doing a pavement space is at about 20 feet long?
Yeah, the parking spaces are 9 by 18.
Okay.
In this particular scenario, the width of the parking spaces are 9 foot at the curb line. Then as they go back towards the drive, they fan out just slightly.
Okay.
So they're perpendicular to the center line of the drive.
I was just trying to surmise the spaces So if you have the parking space, roughly half of it on the lot, the vacant lot, and then you have the butterfly garden, and I was just kind of trying to figure out how much distance is there from the butterfly garden to the wall?
Actually, the butterfly garden to the wall is fairly close. And of course, the butterfly garden, it's basically bushes and plants that caterpillars like to eat, you know, on a seasonal basis. And so it's going to be a green area. It's not going to be like, hopefully, it'll turn brown some of it, you know, when the leaves are all eaten off, if you have a successful butterfly garden. But it's about 4 to 5 feet away from the property line.
Would the trees and the plants then in the butterfly garden cause an additional debris to blow over the fence? And who would be responsible for cleaning that up?
Well, if there's leaves that blow to the neighbor's property, then normally the neighbor picks them up. The church normally doesn't go on somebody else's property to clean up leaves, but they would be responsible for the leaves and, you know, on their property. And hopefully, you know, my goal would be to use some kind of tree like a live oak, which stays perpetually green year-round. You know, the leaves, you know, the green new leaves push off the old leaves, but they always stay green. So there could be some little leaves that fall on the neighbor's property. But that'd be no matter what.
Years down the road, those grow really slow.
They do. And you want to put them, you know, far enough off there so that, you know, during the first 10 or 15 years, the area, the span of the trees would not encroach over the fence too much.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Swanky?
Yes. Can you zoom out a little bit, please? So we can see the whole thing. All right, so, and I'm referencing, so I want to get confirmation with you because I'm referencing Google Maps on my phone. Down by where it says Main Street, looks like there's an entrance there that is fairly close to the property line of what we own right now, right? You see the entrance I'm talking about, right off of Main Street? And it looks like on Google Maps that kind of already exists. It might be moving over, yeah, it looks like it just might be moving over closer to there just a little bit. And
Yeah,
there's
right
already,
over
as I can see, I was going to ask you, there's already parking spaces there, isn't there?
Yes, these are existing parking spaces.
Okay, all right. And then the other thing I just wanted to confirm is going up by First Street and Hurley on the plan, you said there's a plan for them to build obviously a school up there, a schoolhouse, and a driveway to get in there, but that looks like is already on property that they own. So that would not be our board's concern at all. That's planning and zoning only.
That would be correct.
Okay. So our sale, whether or not we sell that or not to the church can still go to planning and zoning and build that driveway and build that school
That's
if they
correct.
get permission through the planning and zoning and through the city.
That's correct.
Okay, just want to make sure that was right. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Swanky, I have another question. If you could zoom out on this concept plan a little bit, that's fine. I see that the church has an entryway off of Main Street to the west, right there. And they, in this plan, could be able to circle totally all the way around to the back of their property and actually create an unloading zone at the back of their property where it's a little bit safer for young kids to get out of a car. And then they can actually follow the pathway all the way out onto First Street. Seems to me that that would be a more advisable path to maneuver. And if that were the case, then these parking spaces that you have on the property we currently own could actually be turned in toward the church could that not be the case?
Well,
I suppose my question is, why does the entryway into the church, why is that even existing?
well, that little driveway, or with,
Correct.
well, this is where all the children drop off and pick up currently happens, right here. This is it. And it's my understanding that this is going to continue as the school for the church, and then eventually have a sanctuary back here. This is not built either. This doesn't exist, so that's all future. But right now, all the activity happens right here.
Well, actually, you could have them drop off kind of where the parking space for 3 is, right there. As they come in, they could drop off and just circle on around and out the property.
So you want them to drop off somewhere else?
It could work.
This is just, I'm sorry, Morris, this is just conceptual.
Okay.
We can change anything you want to change.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other questions for Mr. Swanky?
Yes, I have another one. So if the people were to drive in to the left of the facility where the existing chapel is at and circle around the back, could they not come out the current church exit rather than having to get over on this lot? I mean, is the lot 100% necessary?
Well, I think the church wants the property because they need extra parking, for what they want to do in the rear, because they need the parking spaces. When you count up the parking spaces, they need almost every parking space that I've shown on here just to make the numbers work.
Thank you.
All right, any further questions? Okay, if not, thank you, Mr. Swanky. We'll move on to item 5.3, Northgate Church Development and Landscape Concept Plan for 210 Main Street. Who is preparing that? Oh, I'm sorry, that's the one we were just at, excuse me. We're now at 5.4, the economic benefits of the Northgate Church development to the city of Haslet. And we have a presentation.
I believe there was a letter that was submitted by Pastor Slinker on that, and that's what that item is about.
Is he going to present that information?
He can.
Go right ahead.
Well, thank you for taking time to review our offer. Northgate would like you to consider our offer in conjunction with our church's overall development plan. Our development will add unique amenity offerings in Haslet that don't currently exist. In the way of an educational facility, special events, and a wedding venue. The development foundation will be built around our church, Northgate Church. This development will complement the Old Town area, so we're trying to blend it into the neighborhood, and so we appreciate Mr. Swanky's work here to help us come up with conceptual design that will blend in. This will help influence ownership in and around the Old Town area, in addition to additional facilities, resources for the community, while enhancing the city's commerce and economic development through job creation and increased sales revenue. Northgate's development plan includes multi-use facility that will serve as the church needs, as well as provide the community of Haslet with an additional facility resource. The acquisition of the 210 property will permit the church to provide a reconfigured entry drive on existing property to improve circulation and adequate access for emergency response, and provide a tranquil landscape garden space on the new lot in the front area of Main Street for all to enjoy. The impact of our development has and will continue to benefit the city, its businesses directly. Increased commerce brings job growth opportunities and additional city revenue. Northgate campus facility needs support. We need administrative staff, janitorial services, lawn and building maintenance staff, schools need teachers. The educational facility, we embarked on a plan to grow a classical education model in the Haslet area by partnering with Classical Conversation and Legacy Classical Christian Academy. These groups strive to provide children with education opportunities in a Christian-based environment. Classical Conversations empower parents to guide children's educational development at every age by immersed in their curriculum as well. This is a Christ-centered homeschool curriculum. It is rooted in the classical model to help children develop. They provide educational resources to a growing homeschool market for families here in the area. Legacy Christian Academy is a TEA-approved, accredited K-3 through 12th grade university model school. As a university model school, Legacy Christian, the Classical Christian Academy has a 3-day academic program. LCCA is accredited by the National Association of University Model Schools. Both schools utilize our campus to host educational conferences and regional meetings for their respective organizations, bringing people onto campus and into the city. Restoration of the circa 1920s chapel will provide an intimate venue for small weddings and special events. The demand for small, affordable wedding venues has grown in the area. There's not one currently in the area. Our North Texas area lacks such options. Many couples are seeking smaller, intimate weddings or elopements at an affordable cost. Similarly, the Haslet area lacks rentable space for special events. Presence of these venues in our community provide a unique destination in Haslet, spurring business opportunities and employment offerings. The types of area services that would be the providers would need to use the venue would be local restaurants, caterers, bakeries, hotels, entertainment, photography and videography, salon, makeup artists, and florist shops. These would all benefit in the area. When complete, this venue will be an attractive destination for exposing our city and the Old Town community to new visitors, partaking in ceremonies and events. It gives them a chance to explore Haslet. As with all visitors, any destination, travelers need refreshments, they need fuel, they need eating establishments, all of which adds to the Haslet commerce and consequentially would increase revenue for city businesses. And then as a member of this community, our growing presence in the Old Town area provides an added benefit that churches often bring, a sense of calmness and stability, helping make the area attractive to potential new residents looking for a community to raise their family and areas to prosper. We provide sponsorship to needed services in the community as well. We co-sponsor the snack pack program for the Haslet Elementary School with the Lutheran Church and provide additional meeting space for Narcotics Anonymous group that meets in our building. It's a support group here in Haslet to just help the citizens who don't have a place where they can meet and work through their issues. And we foster another church on our property, the Haslet Baptist Church, Bible Church. It's a new church plant for our community. We believe that the community needs more churches, not less churches, so we are providing them with the space so they can grow their church. We continue to feel we're a benefit to the city through our spiritual, social, education, and special event activities. We believe that we are an attractive buyer for this 0.34 acre for future benefits, as well as it provides benefits to the city. We're an active participant with the city in like the Easter egg hunt and night out. Our parking lot facility is used like on 4th of July events. So when the city has big events, people do use our parking spaces to help support the city. We just think that this allows us to be a positive economic and community impact for the city in decades to come. Also, as we talk about, benefits, we live in a transient community nowadays. People just don't set roots as much as they used to in our little communities. I grew up in Roanoke, and I had friends in Haslet, and I'd be hard pressed to find anybody that I grew up with who still lives in this area. People moving out very often. But churches help bring stability. It brings community. It's a reason to stay. It's a community within a community. It's a beacon for people to come and be their best. And so we feel the danger to Haslet is that when you have all these churches building out there on 287, it pulls people away from Haslet. It pulls that dollar away from Haslet. When they're out there on 287, they can easily go, use businesses up and down that road. And so that the dollar will travel on 287. And so we feel that having churches here in our community bring people to our community, they keep people in our community, and that will help the economic impact of this community. It's important that we support organizations like a church because we help build identity and culture and character and comfort in a city. We are here to support and to provide needed service for religious purposes. The city is made up of diverse people, and unity is built when that diversity has a place to foster. There's no better place in the world to foster diversity and grow community than in a church. To grow churches offer a place that can happen. Different people of different races, of different creeds, of different ethnicity, of different nationality, of social, economic, and political thought come together in a church and unite. There's no class system in a church. Everybody comes together to worship. And so we build a family unit inside that church. We build community in that church. And so we unite for something greater than just ourselves. We support, why support Northgate in this purchase? It's because it gives the city an opportunity to have in the Old Town area, an anchor, a place where people can come and learn to be better. At Northgate, we want to give recipients of the residents of Haslet a place to come, a place to be proud of, a place to invest in, a place where kids get taught, where adults are discipled, where people who need help building structure in their life, we help develop character, we help them find a hope for the future, a better place to be, and we help them just sustain that stability in their life. And so we feel like that's a very important part of our city culture. It's more than a property to us. It's an engine that drives community. It goes beyond just a place to meet. It's a place to grow. It's a place to just become your best self. We think that we can successfully do that for the city, but at the same time, our overriding principle is that we want to present Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior and provide people with a place where they can grow and safely worship and learn and have kids in a safe environment where they can learn and become better citizens. We think that we extend out throughout the city, which only can improve our economic development in this area. That's it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Slinker. We'd like to ask a few questions now, I think. And first of all, before we do ask some questions, I want to let you know that we really do appreciate your church and all that you do. You certainly bring good value here to Haslet, and all the comments that you made, the good work that you do, it's appreciated. I think everybody on this council would agree with me with those comments. But now we'd like to ask you some information about the economic benefit that you actually bring to Haslet.
Okay.
Can you tell us what taxes do you pay to the city of Haslet?
Well, churches are exempt from paying taxes.
Okay, so you pay no taxes whatsoever. So
Just as every church in this city does.
correct, correct. Okay, so another thing I want to ask you is how large is your school right now? How many students do you have?
38. We have 38 right now.
You have 38 students. And how often do they attend school during the week?
We have a group that meets on Monday, and then Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Friday.
Okay,
And Fridays is a smaller group.
okay. All right, and are those children from Haslet proper, or are they outside the city?
They come from around the area. There's some in the city, but there's some outside the city as well.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about the relationship that your church has with the two programs you sponsor? Can you tell me, are you an employee of Classic Conversations or the Legacy Classic Christian Academy? Or
No.
what? Can you then tell us the relationship that these two schools you sponsor, how they interact with your church, how they're related?
Well, we have some church members who are employed by the school. We also have members of the school who have become members of our church. So it's a little give and take. So as people come to get to know our church, they have come to join our church. And so, and at the same time, people in our church who have skills and abilities have been hired by the school to help them. So we have members who are involved with each other.
So how many employees, how many members of your church are employed by these schools? Do you know?
Currently, 2.
2.
Out of how many staff do you have? 12 staff.
Okay. Do you have a cafeteria on site at your
We have
church?
Kitchen facilities,
Do you actually serve food to the children?
like as a business?
Yes.
No,
So you have no operating cafeteria there?
no. It's
Okay.
all, they bring their own meals.
Okay. I don't want to dominate with all the questions. I'm going to open it up to the board. Does the board member have any questions they'd like to ask?
When do you expect the chapel completely renovated and ready to open?
I just talked to the contractor today. We're going to ramp up activities this summer while school's out. So we're hoping to have it done by end of August.
How large is your current staff? And can you please share your 3, 5, and 10-year plans?
My current staff is 2. I'm a part-time pastor, so it's called a bivocational pastor. I have a admin, and we have we hire a young man to do our landscaping. So I guess I have 3 employees.
And do you have a vision for what your 3-year, 5-year, 10-year plan is? How large you're going to grow and how that's going to evolve?
Well, the chapel is a big part of our plan, and once we get that up, it's going to help fuel some of our growth opportunities. We're looking to add the school, the new school building in about 4 years, as we have to get it developed and built and then have that facility running. So really it's in phases. So first phase would be the chapel. Second phase we were hoping would be this property. Third phase would be to build the school and then add some parking at the same time. The new sanctuary would probably be outside 10 years. So it really depends on growth. Churches really depend on, as we grow and we have more donations, then we're able to do more building. At this time, we are not planning to develop the property as the rendering is for at least, that wouldn't be accomplished within 10 years, maybe 12.
Okay.
It's going to be a systematic growth. We're not looking to take on debt. We're looking to grow our church, have the chapel and drive some revenue, and then work with our partners to continue to grow our property.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. How many weddings have you conducted since the beginning of this year at your church?
Weddings?
Weddings?
1.
1. Okay.
Currently, I only do weddings for members of my church.
Okay.
So I don't open the church open for the venue. It's not prepared for that.
Okay, well, once this chapel is complete and you open it up as a venue, what's your plans on how many weddings you hope to do in a year?
About 24 a year.
24 a year.
I'm not trying to run a chapel business every weekend, but I just don't think the property can sustain that kind of volume. I'm just trying to offer it about 24 times a year. And then we're going to use it as a facility for our services as well. So on Sundays, it'll be for worship. And then on typically Friday and Saturday, we'll have it available for a wedding venue. Now, we have the schools on property during the week, so we probably won't use it for any kind of wedding venue during the week because of our partnerships with the school. Mm-hmm. So it'll be primarily Friday and Saturdays when we have it available.
Mr. Slinker, how many people will the chapel hold when it's completely renovated?
It's going to hold about 120 at max. I'll have to work with you to get that done. But In the past, it held about 120 people, so we're hoping to keep it in that zone. So it's not going to be a big wedding venue, it'll be very small.
And did you say that you're starting the renovation soon and would hope to complete it by the end of the summer?
I'm writing a check to DEC, Randy, Friday, so
Okay.
we'll have the air conditioner going in very soon, and then systematically, we're trying to get it done for the rest of the summer and just knock it out, yeah.
Is this the same structure that the city of Haslet entertained, or I think the church was going to give to the city about, I'm not sure the date, 5 or 6 years ago?
Yeah, we tried to do it twice. It was about 8 years ago the first time, and then we tried to do it again 4 years ago.
Okay. And I thought the comment at the time from the city was that the cost of renovation would be extremely excessive. I thought I heard 500,000 or something because of the asbestos.
That was to build it back to its original, you have to use old wood and restore it to its original kind of look. We're not doing that. We're remodeling it. We did have an asbestos cleanup on it. It did have some asbestos in it, so that's the first thing we had to do. And that's been cleaned and approved by the state, so that's completed. And then we had to go in and shore up the foundations. The original building of that church, they used a Bodark timber as the stumps to hold the building up. And they lasted 102 years. So we had to go back in and we took those out and we put in concrete gearing to hold it up. The actual structure, the bones of the building are very strong. They built things right 102 years ago, and it's still pretty valid. So we're doing some remodeling. There was some termite damage in some of the wood areas, so we're having to redo that. So it's more, restoring it to a functional status, trying to keep as much as we can of the old church. So the bones, the actual timbers in it, we're going to keep, but some of the aesthetics on the outside, we're going to have to update. So.
Okay. How many parking spaces does your property have right now?
We have, I think about 20 dedicated parking places. Now we park in the back, which is just an open lot. If it's not soggy back there, we can put 40, 50 cars back there if we needed to. If it's soggy, because of the drainage issues, as Joel mentioned, it limits us to probably about 10, 15 more cars back there. If you want to address the draining issues, Joel and I will get together with you and talk about that. Like a river when it really pours. Yeah.
I just have one additional question. You said that you started the remodel of the church. Has our city inspector come in and inspected your church? And
there all the time, yes.
And he actually has validated that all the asbestos has been removed from the church?
He approved the process that we use. It's a state process to remove asbestos. So you have to contract through state-approved people to do that, and he approved that plan. Yes.
Okay, but has he seen that it has totally been taken care of? Because you said it's done, right?
He comes in and inspects as we go along in the project. There are points where he has to come in and review what we've done. And so he's been along that path the whole way.
And he has validated that the state has given you the clearance that all the asbestos has been removed from the
We
church?
provided him with the certifications, and he has those.
Okay.
Sir, you mentioned that you've held about one wedding so far this year. Are you aware of any of the vendors here locally in Haslet that have been used, perhaps, for that particular wedding?
That was just, it was a small wedding, so we didn't have we're old school, we like to do potlucks, so if we're going to have food, we probably usually give it away and cook it ourselves, yeah.
Go ahead, Frank.
All right, and I apologize if you've answered this, because I don't remember. When did you plan on starting to develop this particular tract that you're looking to buy from us?
Well, it's going to be, we have to get the chapel going for the weddings, and then once we have, that's generating some revenue, then we're going to look at additional parking. That part of the property, to develop that will probably be 6 years out, I would think, or maybe closer to when we have the school being built, so maybe 4 years out, 4 to 6 years, I'd say.
Okay, and then on the chapel thing, You mentioned you're going to try and generate some revenue with that. Do you know if that particular part of revenue would be subject to any kind of taxes? Is there any sales tax or use tax on that?
Yeah,
By
I
the
haven't
service?
investigated that, to be honest with you. If we
Okay.
charge sales tax for somebody who's using the church outside of, using the building outside the church, I haven't gone that far in my.
I don't know if it is or it's, I know the tax thing is a state thing. It's not us or the city, it's a state thing. But,
Sales tax license, so we can charge sales taxes for certain events.
okay,
I haven't gone that far to look at it.
okay. So potentially then it could be
It could be, yes.
some revenue generation.
But, so if it's not exempt by our, because of the church, then I think we probably would have to have sales tax.
Okay.
I would assume it would be.
Excuse me, I don't think so. If he is actually charging revenue to conduct the wedding, you would not be charging sales tax to your clients, would you?
Again, I'd have to investigate it. I'm not going to speak out on something I haven't really investigated fully around the sales tax issue.
Right. Well, I did check with the Texas Controller, and typically churches are completely exempt, so you wouldn't be charging tax.
Oh, okay. Thank you for doing that work for me.
Right. And
I patiently waited for you to finish. I'd like you to patiently wait for me to finish.
okay, but you acted as if you
I did
didn't know
not.
what the
You went-
answer.
I was asking him, but that's fine. I wanted to know if he knew or what he was planning, and it's okay that it's not. In the end, the tax issue to me is irrelevant because it's a state thing that gives them the exemption, not us, and so forth. And to hold that against him, I think, is probably uncalled for. So on that end, I want to go back to my other question to you is you sat here and you listened to the questions to Mr. Swanky. I know when you sat there, you initially wanted to say something before kind of your turn. So I wanted, now you've got the floor. Did you want to elaborate on any of the questions that were asked to Mr. Swanky that Mr. Swanky may not have said or addressed?
Yeah, I would just say this, that working with Morris and with members of, the fire department and just the city, I get really good advice from the city. I'm a pastor, and so, I have grand plans, and they bring me back to earth and say, hey, maybe we do it like this, or maybe we do it like that, and I listen. And I appreciate the support I get from the city, and if we need to adjust things, then I'm open to that. If we don't want to shine lights on the concrete wall, maybe we'll turn that space into where you can only back into park, if that's what it takes. If we need to move them over someplace, we'll move them over someplace. To me, it's all flexible. My goal is to build something in the middle of Old Town that we can be proud of and that will serve the community and serve my Lord and Savior. That's my goal. And so whatever I can do to accommodate my neighbors and make it pleasing and aesthetic and just enhance what we have down there. I grew up in Roanoke, and it was a little bigger than Haslet at that time. And I see what's gone on in Roanoke with the development, and there's part of me that enjoys going over there, and there's part of me that misses my little old town. And I like Old Town. I like the big trees in there. I like the old houses, and I would just like to build something that keeps that culture, that atmosphere, that look, but at the same time enhances what we can do to help the community and help our congregation grow in their faith. And at the same time, we go out and serve our community. And so we want to partner with the city and do Easter egg hunts and night out events and help sponsor those things and open our space up to help people come in and do things. And so we are willing and able to make any adjustments that we need on the property. Morris, I thought, made some wonderful suggestions because I had straight lines on everything, and it looked like a Tetris game when I did it. And so he came in and opened my eyes to some really wonderful attributes of design that I hadn't even considered. And so I appreciate him meeting with us, and we tried to meet.
Thank you. We do understand. Thank you. Is there any other questions to ask?
Yeah, just briefly. Well, there was one question about how it would be titled. Who to own the property, under what name?
It'll be owned by the church.
Okay.
So we have, over the years, acquired several lots there. And so we have to have one plat for all that property, so.
Okay.
I think there was some confusion as to what church name.
Well, we are incorporated as First Baptist Church Haslet, but we're doing business as Northgate Church. So we're still First Baptist Church Haslet. We just do business as Northgate Church.
Okay, other questions? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you for your time.
And again, we do appreciate all the good work that you do for Haslet. But I might ask one other question. Should this board choose not to sell this lot to you, you do intend on continue doing all your growth plans as you have stated, correct? You intend on continue operations and doing the wedding venues and building the school larger?
Yes.
Okay.
We have a plan that we want to develop on our property.
Okay.
That little piece of property would just help us make it a little prettier, we think, so.
Okay, thank you.
Can I make
Thank
just
you.
a brief comment? Just a brief comment
Sure,
too? Just
sure.
as a comment was made. I just want the people to know that I don't know how this board's going to vote. So I'm saying, but if the board votes to sell the property to the church, that's step one. I know the church has worked with Ms. Reynolds, and I think he'll work with the gentleman behind there. Sorry, I don't remember your name, sir, but on the development. But as it goes, the next step is the Planning and Zoning Commission Board. And you can be a part of that process. They has to present the plan to there that they have to approve. You can make a talk just like you did to us and say, I'd like you to not have these trees or this thing or that. I'm serious, and the Planning and Zoning Board that I'm a part of on that as well, I'm an alternate, but I'm a part of, can recommend to the City Council, approve but do this, or so forth. So this is not the end of the process either. If it goes the way, maybe you're not 100% crazy it goes, it doesn't mean that your input ends there to try and get to something that hopefully you can live nicely with and you'll have some pretty butterflies.
I have one quick comment to make, I promise quick. In that if the board were to decide to move forward with a sale, just to let you know, the offer is actually not existent. The offer was actually rejected, and there would have to be a new contract, and the property would have to go back on the market again. So just for clarification, it would just have to start over again, just so there's no confusion. Thank you.
Okay, item number 6, discuss, consider, and act regarding all property management reports. We'll end up taking that item into executive session, and I would like to close the open meeting at 7:32 and adjourn the board into executive session.
I wanted to make a motion,
You can't. A motion for what?
7.1.
No, we're going into executive session.
Thank y'all for your time.
Might be a little bit, but we'll be back.
This is a survey here. It's 53.04 on that end, 60.51 at that end. And also, just so everybody will know, I've changed the arrow.
I'm sorry, that was bullshit that you did, dude.
And I asked myself,
Is anybody online? Oh, there's people online.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I would like to open up the meeting, open meeting at 9:06. And we do have a statement to be read out of executive session. And then we have a motion to take place out of executive session.
This statement is in response to Mayor Halsey's public comments on action items 8.2 and 8.3. And just before I make the statement, we will be referring to a meeting on January 9th, 2024, and Frank Gatto was not present at that meeting. During the April 23rd, 2025 HCEDC Type B meeting, Mayor Halsey made public comments on items 8.2 and 8.3 of the agenda. He provided the board members with a manila folder of documents during agenda item 8.2. The folder contained the following documents: January 9th, 2024 meeting minutes, a legal opinion from City Attorney Jeremy Page, Resolution number 2023-001. We would like to take this opportunity to address his concerns. The board voted unanimously to rescind the acceptance of the offer letter for 210 Main Street, pending legal review at January 9th, 2024 meeting. Prior to that meeting, Board President Kitty Wirtz contacted the Texas Municipal League, TML, to consult on broker agreements and fees for sale of real property by EDC. Kitty was provided portions of the TML Economic Development Handbook as reference. Economic development corporations must obtain fair market value when selling real property. The board decided that we were not offered fair market value based on the sale price and appraisal value. The offer was lower than the comps provided by Jill DeLeon, our realtor. The sale of the property was listed on the Municipal Listing Service, MLS, open market for 4 days before receiving the offer. The board chose to sell the property via working with a broker, and the home rule municipality states that the property must be on the MLS for at least 30 days before accepting the offer. The TML advised that the board was an EDC and a general law type A city, so this provision does not apply to our city. However, all cities, general law or home rule, must follow certain purchasing rules and requirements when selling real property. But these requirements do not apply to EDCs because they are not political subdivisions. There is an Attorney General opinion in which the AG concluded that although the EDC is not required to comply with purchasing requirements, EDCs must obtain fair market value when selling real property. Other than taking fair market value, we didn't have any information telling us what code, law, or opinion to follow in this property sale. Our realtor reached out to the church as a potential buyer since it was known to us that they were interested. Taking the first offer after 4 days did not give the general public time to react to the new listing. Therefore, we had no competition in the sale of the property. The following day, City Attorney Jeremy Page emailed Kitty Wirtz. The email is mentioned above as part of what Mayor Halsey provided us in the manila folder. In the email, he states that, quote, Local Government Code 501.153, a Type B economic development corporation can sell or lease property on the terms that the corporation's board of directors considers to be advisable and not otherwise in conflict with state law. He acknowledges our use of Texas Attorney General Opinion Number JC 32, 1999. Which states that an EDC may not sell a property for less than the property's fair market value. Another Attorney General's opinion defines fair market value as not as a set value determined by appraisal, but instead as the price that a willing buyer who desires to buy, but is under no obligation to buy, would pay to a willing seller who desires to sell but is in no obligation to sell. Texas Attorney General Opinion Number DM441. Both opinions were provided to us in these folders. Mr. Page's opinion was that the negotiated purchase price for the property met the legal standard for fair market value in accordance with state law. He explained that 2 of the local government codes mentioned the night before, on January 9th, do not apply in this situation. The first code, he stated that Chapter 272 of the local government code doesn't apply because the Attorney General determined that the EDC is under no obligation to comply with Chapter 272, which contains various notice and bid requirements, JC 0032. The second local government code, 253.014, doesn't apply because the EDC is not a municipality per the Texas Attorney General Opinion Number 98-082. In summary, we have 2 Attorney General opinions, a city attorney opinion, and 2 local government codes that do not apply, Chapter 272 and 253.014. Then we have Mr. Page's first statements of the email. Quote, "To begin with, I'm going to reiterate my position that the HCEDC is under no obligation to sell its property for any specific appraised value. Instead, pursuant to LGC 501.153, a Type B EDC can sell or lease property on the terms that the corporation's board of directors considers advisable and not otherwise in conflict with state law." If you are still following, it appears there is no clear rule or law to follow, merely opinions, and it is left up to the advisement of the EDC to determine fair market value. All this information was presented to the board for their consideration, and the board determined we did not receive the fair market value for the following reasons. We did not receive the asking price. We did not receive the appraisal price. We did not receive a price comparable to the comp prices. We did not have a competitive situation. We were only on the open market for 4 days, and at that time unsure what fair market should be. In addition, we were under the impression that we needed to follow home rule municipality and wait 30 days before accepting an offer. Therefore, we stand by our decision and the board vote, which was 6-0, to rescind acceptance of the offer for 210 Main Street. Fast forward to April 23rd, 2025 meeting. Mayor Halsey asked Kathy Brandon and Kitty Wirtz if all offers about 210 Main Street had been presented to the real estate subcommittee and if those offers had been provided to the full board. In the manila folder, Mayor Halsey provided a copy of resolution number 2023-001, which assigned the subcommittee and stated in section 4, the property negotiation committee shall bring all offers to the full HCEDC board of directors for approval or rejection. All offers were brought to the subcommittee and were brought to the full board. As far as we can tell, all offers were brought to the real estate subcommittee. It would depend on testimony from the Charlie Brown Group, Amanda Rice, and Ian, and the board has since voted to take the property off the market and discontinue a contract with Charlie Brown. The timeline for the second offer for 210 Main Street is as follows. Offer from First Baptist Church of Haslet by Pastor John R. Slinker was dated 3/17/2025. Brandy Allison of Alliance Properties, Texas, submitted the offer to Keller Williams, the Charlie Brown Group. Per Brandy Allison's email to Ian Van Kooten of the Charlie Brown Group, dated 3/20/2025. She stated she submitted the offer on 3/18 as per MLS instructions. Kitty Wirtz sent an email to Katrina White on 3/20/2025 at 4:49 p.m. asking for the HCEDC meeting of 3/26/2025 be canceled since we did not have any business to discuss and she would be out of town. An offer was sent to Kitty Wirtz on 3/20/2025 at 6:03 p.m. via email by Ian Van Kooten. Katrina White issued a meeting cancellation on 3/21/2025 at 12:50 p.m. Kitty Wirtz was out of the country from 3/22/2025 to 4/4/2025. The special HCEDC Type B meeting was scheduled for 4/15/2025 to consider the offer submitted. In closing, we felt our actions on January 9th, 2024 were justified. We felt we did not receive fair market value. Our documentation also proves that the subcommittee followed appropriate procedures in handling the second offer. It was just unfortunate timing.
Okay, I'd like to also make a statement. In the last meeting, I would also like to make a statement. In the last meeting, Mayor Holsey made many accusations and stated information as if it was factual, when indeed it was not. This board did not commit slander against the mayor. The accusation was made and revealed to the public by Mayor Holsey himself, for who knows what reason. We have stated the facts as they occurred and feel no wrongdoing happened within this board's control. We would now like to make a motion of action out of our executive session.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion. I move to extend our commercial realtor contract with the Weitzman Group to May 31st of 2026, with all terms and conditions of the current contract remaining the same.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion. I have a second. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Okay, I would like to take us back to item number 7. Action items: discuss, consider, and act to rescind the action and vote taken on April 15th, 2025 regarding the 210 Main Street HCEDC property. Discuss, consider, and act. I'll turn it to the board.
I would like to make a motion to put the property at 210 Main Street back on the active open market listing, and rescind the motion to convey this property to the City of Haslet to be deeded solely for the purpose of parkland, and the future use to be determined by the collaboration of the Park Board, City Council, and the HCEDC Board.
I second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion. I have a second. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? We have 4. All those opposed? We have 2. Okay, item 7.2, I'm going to strike that from the agenda. No action on that to be taken tonight. And we move onward to item number 10, future agenda items. I would like to put on the future agenda items the projects that this board has identified, one being parking lots to be added in the community park close to the tennis court areas. I also have a citizen request to look at paving Nance Field, baseball field parking lot. So those two might be combined under the same project. We'll be talking about that next month. And then secondly, I'd like to put the dog park project on the agenda, and I would ask that the committees set up an appointment with the mayor and city staff to start talking about these projects and getting them kicked off. I ask the board, do we have any other future agenda items? All right, if not, then we will adjourn this meeting at 9:20. Thank you.
This conference is no longer being recorded.